my God, why? Why does everything that I touch not come to anything? Why is it that every time I think I see the end of the tunnel, I end up failing? Don't I deserve to succeed like the others? Am I not your child too? These are the questions I was asking myself that Sunday morning, sitting in my room. They had just taken my matter away for non-payment of electricity bills. It was the 6th time this year. The cupboard where I kept food was totally empty, and I had just been demoted from work. Total chaos. My name is Yannick. I am 32 years old, and I was almost an executive in the electricity company from my city before receiving the letter meaning that I was being demoted last Friday morning. Before we continue with the story, do not forget to click on the notification button in order to get notified at every new video posted. And if you've been touched by the story, do not forget to click on our PayPal link to help us touch more souls. May God bless you. Already, it had been 3 months since I had received my salary, supposedly because my bank account had a technical problem. Truth be told, I am used to such bizarre situations, and I never really wondered why so many things got into my way every time I wanted to emerge. However, I am a practicing Christian. I go to church every Sunday, and I read my Bible daily. I'll take example of the month of March last year. I had managed to raise the sum of 3 million, and I was about to hire a real estate agent to help me buy a plot of land. At the same time, I met Cynthia, a girl with whom I had a relationship. After a month of looking for land, I got scammed by a real estate agent who had been recommended to me. I was devastated. I had worked so hard to raise this money. I had abstained from so many pleasures. I even remember putting apart my girlfriend at the time because of the fact that I no longer gave her gifts and outings like I used to, so I could save. However, after recovering from this shock, I got back to work. It was just another blow. I couldn't stop dreaming though. The following month, I started saving money again in order to start a refresher training. The challenge was to leave for England to be trained at the expense of my company and come back with a higher grade. For once, I needed a passport to make a visa besides the company was going to take care of the papers. I was so excited. This trip would allow me to recover from the misadventure of the money I lost. The day I went to the immigration office to start the passport procedure, I came across a sublime woman. Her name was Cassandra. We spent the day together since she also came to have a passport drawn up. So we got along very well, and so we flirted together. It was so nice. Despite the small happiness, when traveling with the company, the visa was granted to all my colleagues except me. I was completely confused. Yet all of our files were made up in the same way. I even had the advantage over my colleagues. I spoke fluent English. My payslip was crystal clear. I did not understand. In the midst of this frustration, I remembered my mother who used to tell me that a man's strength is determined by his strength to get up. I did not give up, and I continued to persevere. My colleagues who had gone for the training came back a few months later and were all promoted to positions of responsibility. My heart hurt, but I didn't say anything. I devoted myself completely to my work. Weeks later, a sympathetical promoted colleague of mine enlisted me for a field mission. This small mission was juicy because each participant had to come up with a bonus of 1 million francs. I couldn't say no. We boarded in a group of 5, heading for a locality in the south of the country. The mission was to last 3 weeks. Once we arrived on the scene, we took note of the situation and got to work. What I liked most about this mission was the fact that we had individual dormitories, so more privacy. I could listen to music late at night, walk back and forth without disturbing anyone. 1 week from the end of the mission, I went out for a drink in the evening. At the lounge where I went, I met a pretty young lady named Cassandra, with whom I shared a few drinks. She was pretty cute, so we flirted all evening. I finally got back to my dorm with her. The night was magical. The following morning, she left, and I went back to work without suspecting that the day that awaited me would be hellish. I made a handling error and broke one of the work devices. This device cost 950,000, and at the end of the mission, instead of benefiting from the bonus, I had to reimburse the damaged equipment. I don't even have to say a word. You can imagine how bad I felt. It was already too many losses and disappointments that were coming to me like that. Frustration washed over me as time passed by. I saw my friends evolve in their professions, their lives as couples, and in their finances, while I stagnated. I felt jealous. It was then that I approached a colleague and explained to him my discomfort. He told me a house of a witch doctor who could help me. I hesitated a lot, mainly because of my religious convictions, but I finally gave in. I went there, and the gentleman gave me potions on which I had meditated on before drinking and washing myself for a period of 2 weeks. This gentleman guaranteed me that at the end of the treatment, I would have obtained everything I had lost and more. So I listened to him and I complied to the foot of the letter without skipping a single day. I washed myself, drank decoctions. After 2 weeks, I was convinced that everything would work out for me. But one evening, on my way home from work, during a moment of inattention at the wheel of my car, I hit a house barrier. The height of it all was the fact that not only did I have my car to repair, but that house also needed to be redone at my expenses. The expenses amounted to 3 million. I had no savings because of all the misfortunes that befell on me on the previous months. I had to sell several devices from my home to fix the mistakes. After this incident, I sank in deeper and deeper into depression and questioning. I couldn't understand. I prayed, however, but nothing. Had I been forgotten by God? Was this a test? All these questions made me drift even further away from prayer, and I started to drink a lot of alcohol to forget my worries. During my trips to bars, I plunged into a deep libertinism with women. I hardly lived at my home anymore. To top it off, the girl I was in a relationship with at that moment left me because she couldn't take my lifestyle anymore. I couldn't pay my bills because money was going into alcohol. The height was the fact that I was no longer the same at work. I was completely late on a daily basis. My performances were very poor. I must have received a dozen requests of explanation to which I had no longer paid attention over time. Which brings us to last Friday when I received a letter letting me know that I had been demoted from my position. This descent was hellish. So here I am today sitting on my bed, without electricity, without food, demoted, frustrated and hopeless. My God, what exactly did you want to tell me? What am I doing wrong? What am I not doing right? Show me the way, please. As I prayed, an inner voice in me told me to go to church to see a man of God to make me understand the ways of God in my life. When I arrived at God's house, his servant prayed for me, and after I told him all my misadventures, he explained to me that God was not testing me, that my repeated failures were simply because of my constant contact with fornication. Whenever I had an important project where I reached a crucial turning point for my success, I found myself flirting with girls, and these flirtations gave way to the spirit of stagnation and did not accomplish because God abhors sin. This servant of God made me understand that these actions were not in agreement with my Creator and that blocked my graces. He also made me understand that I made my situation worse by having recourse to a witch doctor, reason why I totally fell after. I bitterly regretted my actions and offered a prayer of repentance. Once back home, I took life back and started a week of fasting and prayer to ask for forgiveness from my Creator. It has been 2 months since I had my revelation. I can't believe how simple cravings have managed to make my life hell. My dear brothers, your bodies are temples of the divine. Take care of them.